Hey, welcome back to another edition of Avidgolfer Magazine's Drive Time feature. This month we showcase a car that harkens back to 2003. This is when Infiniti came out with the FX. It's kind of like the first sport crossover. That went on till 2017, then they canned it, and then this became the successor. It's the 2022 Infiniti QX55. This is the Sensory Edition. Top of the line. It's also all-wheel drive. I want to thank the great folks over at Crest Cars, Crest Infiniti up in Frisco for the use of the vehicle. There's a lot to talk about this car, so let's give it a go. The brand new 2022 QX55, this is the Sensory Edition, top of the line package. And one thing you'll notice about this car versus, let's say, or the crossover versus the QX50, which came out a few years ago, the brand new version, is this is a much slopier roofline. It's sportier. It just has a different cast to it. The QX50 has more cargo space, a little bit boxier, a little more upright. So you pick with which one you want because the engine's the same and the steering's the same and all that. So it really comes down to eyesight and what you feel more comfortable with. What do you feel like with the cargo area and so forth. I think Infiniti designers hit a home run with this because it looks good from any angle. I mean, it really looks super. Everybody's kind of going to this coupe design, what they call it. It's more of just a sloping roofline for a crossover. Gives a little more pizzazz. This mineral black looks gorgeous. It has this flake in here, which is incredible when the sun's shining on it. Gets some nice shimmer. I would also look at Dynamic Sunstone Red. That's another premium paint model or choice that you can get that I think is worthy to look at before you make your final decision. In the front, you can see everything kind of seamlessly goes together. You have some sports fascia everywhere. You have high LED headlights. They have this double wave design that they've had in Infiniti for years. It meshes well with the overall silhouette and the motif. And again, eye catcher from any angle. All right, let's look at the power plant here. This is a 4-cylinder, 2.0 liter variable compression turbo. It's a lot of words. It's got pretty good pep, 268 horsepower. And it's got, let me check real quick, 280 pound-feet of torque. It's fast enough for most people, but the CVT's got kind of a interesting engine. You don't really feel the gears change too much. It's kind of all seamless. Put it in sport, makes it a little growlier. The steering gets a little bit heavier, but by and large, most people will probably keep it in comfort. You can get, eco and snow and all this. Remember, it's all-wheel drive. It's front-wheel drive bias until it needs extra traction, then it transfers 50% of the power to the rear wheels. But pretty quiet. You'll hear a little bit extra growl when you put it in sport, but cruise is great. We'll get into how it drives later, but that's the interior for you. Very clean. All right, let's look at the silhouette here because I think this is where, again, another angle where it really shines. I noticed right away you have a little bit of chrome here, but most of it's kind of like this plastic rubber black cladding that kind of accents, when you put it in different colors, you'll see it's obviously way more noticeable. They have chrome here, and chrome here on the trim. You can see the sloping roof line here. I like the fact that the roof rails are nice and low. They don't stick up too much, so it kind of blends in with the rest of the car. Like that a lot. 20-inch tires, run flats. Darkened alloy wheels, aluminum alloy wheels. It looks great, and even with 20-inch rims with kind of a low profile, it rides pretty good on rough roads. It soaks up the imperfections very well. I was really surprised about that. Usually the higher you go, the bigger the tire, the worse the ride, especially when it's low profile. These do a really good job. Okay, as I've mentioned several times, this car looks great from any angle, and it was tough to do sometimes with a crossover, but they blend in everything nicely as far as the racing silhouette, the streamlinedness of it, if that's a word. And everything just works. It's cohesive. I love it. Got these really cool LED taillights. I like the way those look. You have quad exhaust, or quad. You have dual exhaust in the back, That's usually kind of a big thing these days. Get a racing diffuser on the bottom. That adds to the sporty motif. And then if you open this up, power open and close trunk, there's 26 cubic feet of cargo space right here. If you put down the rear seats, you got over, I think it's like 54.1 to be exact. They do not fold down flat, but they're good. That'll work when you're putting in some storage. They'll be fine. And the extra compartment down here for more goodies. I always like that. And they did a nice job. And actually, you can see out the rear view window pretty well, even though, again, it's a low slung car. All right, let's check out the rear, because everybody wants to know when the crossover. Yeah, they're sporty looking, they're sleek looking, but how agreeable is it for the backseat passengers? I will tell you right off the top, pretty darn good. I'm almost 6 feet tall with my hat on, definitely 6 feet. I still got about this much room for the roof line before touching it, so that's pretty good. It's kind of got festival theater stadium seating where you're sitting up higher than the front seat. I like that. You can get a better view from out there. Here's the cool thing about this. Not only does it fold forward, but these seats, right now it's fairly comfortable. Now it's real comfortable. You can recline the seats up to 6 inches. That's a big deal. So if I want to rest, do whatever, I like having options like that. The leather's perforated. You have heated and cooled seats. They have these really cool, I'll show you in a second, this nice maple wood trim. It gives it a nice rich look. But again, with a sloping roof line that this design displays, you still have a pretty decent amount of headroom, especially if you recline the seats a little bit. And who wouldn't when they're sitting in the back seat? Good foot room here too, right underneath the seat. You're not compromised with that either. You have vents back here. I can change the temperature autonomously from the front because it's got a 3 climate zone, and also has the split seats as we showed you with the looking through the trunk, so that you can put an extra cargo up to, you know, over 50 cubic inches versus 26 if the seats are up like they are now. All right, so one thing about the back seats, you want to give everybody some decent storage space, put drinks in whenever. Pretty liberal down here, I would say. Put a lot of knickknacks or drink or whatever. They also have the Bose speaker system, 16 speakers. Very high quality, very clear. You audiophiles will enjoy this. So good stuff. Also, the double stitch leather kind of again gives it a richer look. This is supposed to be a luxury vehicle, and so far they've done a nice job with that. All right, let's get to the front seat, because this is where I like to shine. This is where I'm most interested in, because this is the driver cockpit, and how does it feel, and how does it look, and how does it drive. So the steering wheel, let's start off with that, because you touch this more than anything in a car. I like the double stitching on it. It's all leather. It's heated as well, which is, in the wintertime, lovely. The instrumentation, pretty standard. You have tach, you have speedometer, you have digital display when you're for speed. It also has a head-up display, very clear. I would always recommend that. Keeps your eyes on the road rather than looking down here. And they have a dual, Infiniti's had this for years. They have a dual infotainment screen, so I can change this to really whatever I want. This is usually in map mode, unless I want Apple CarPlay. You can do that as well. Just go through your phone. It also has Android Auto, and it comes out on here very nicely. I would recommend that because the resolution is actually better. So going along those lines. You have your radio, you have your audio. You can check out whatever you want. It has Sirius satellite. Again, the speakers, 16 speakers in this car, and more than enough oomph for you. Other than that, this is really nice too. This is kind of a semi-aniline leather. It's more of an upgrade than just your plastic. It's got double stitching that adds some little more panache. Then you have this wood trim right here. This is a natural maple, dark maple. Rather than all this shiny stuff that car manufacturers coming out with, I like this. It's muted. The sun doesn't blind you when it's coming in at a certain angle. Everything just feels pretty upscale. You have 2 memory settings for your driver's side car positions, like that. 2 cup holders here, USB and USB-C for connectivity. It also has wireless. What it doesn't have is a wireless charger. Find kind of interesting, something to make note of. You have different modes here. So if you look at this steering here, so on the screen, that's Eco, Personal. I can go ahead and change my own settings, Sport, and Standard. When we get to driving it, I'll tell you how that feels as we go along. Again, three level climate control, and that works well. More storage capacity here. If you open up the center console, very deep, and you got another USB-C port here. So you got a lot of stuff going on. You got auto hold. I love auto hold. What's auto hold? So I come to a stoplight, or I have to stop anywhere, come to a stop, take your foot off the brake, and the car will automatically hold. When I drive cars that don't have it, I notice it immediately. It's kind of an inconvenience. So now that I'm used to it, I don't want to get rid of it. That's pretty cool. You can drive manually if you'd like. You can shift manually. You have paddle shifters here. Feel pretty good, and they're pretty responsive. And other than that, your sunroof. It's not a double pane sunroof or a panoramic because of the sloping roof line, but gives you enough illumination, especially in a dark interior car like this. The seats are heated and cooled. You can see the ventilated leather here, and they work really well. I find these seats incredibly comfortable. They're not hard. They're still supportive. I could see myself taking a long drive with this and not being fatigued. And why not? That's what you want. A decent glove compartment. It's okay. That's enough. And I'm going to say that's about it. On the interior, it does everything you want. It's got most of your climate controls. Instead of going through a huge menu of items, and sometimes you got to drill down pretty deep, and it's kind of frustrating. They have the main ones right here. They have hot, cold, auto, your fan speeds, where you want it to go, heated and cooled here as far as your seat temperatures are concerned. I like that. Just the major things you're probably going to use most of the time, it's all there, very accessible, and who doesn't love that? So there you go. That's the interior. Now I think we need to take it for a ride. All right, we're taking a look at the exterior. Beautiful, by the way. The interior, very lovely. I find the seats incredibly comfortable. I'd like them to be able to be adjusted lower if that's your preference, but we're kind of quibbling here. Anyway, the big thing about this car, this crossover, it's got a CVT transmission, continually variable transmission, meaning it really doesn't have much gearing. It's incredibly efficient. It'll always be in the best gear possible, and that will increase your gas mileage. It gets about 25 overall, 28 on the highway. For a 4-cylinder, not bad. It's not category leading, but I think most people would find that satisfactory. And when you gun it, again, you just feel this smoothness to it. It doesn't jerk you. It's not your typical gearing, and it's one of the things I think most people will like about it. It also has lane avoidance, but it's not overly policing to you. It doesn't jar everything and just drives you crazy. It just gives you a little nudge and say, hey, come on, wake up, get back in your lane. And I find that useful because people do veer. They do, they're not paying attention. And so this gives you a nice little nudge. Steering wheel feels really good. The sight lines, a lot of good visibility. The rear window, a little bit narrower, but doesn't compromise because you have huge side view mirrors here that help that. And turning is pretty good. You have different modes. You have personal, you can tailor make it to where you want. You have sport. I'm going to put in sport right now. So what do I know the difference? I don't feel really anything in the suspension. 20-inch rims does soak up these imperfections around where we work pretty well. I like that. The steering gets a little bit heavier, gives you that sense of a little more point and steer. That's enjoyable. There's a lot of good settings for the seat. Again, wish it was, you could make it a little bit lower, but I think most people will probably like this. One of the things about SUVs, talking to a friend of mine the other day, she bought an SUV because it's the ease of entering and exiting. And I would agree with that. If you're still into the sports sedans that are slung a little bit lower, it can be a little tough getting in and out, especially if you lose some flexibility as you go up in the years. But this is real easy to get in and out of. It has an acoustic sound windshield, so it kind of deadens all the sound around you if you like things nice and quiet. This foots the bill. Everything is real easy within grasp. As driving, I'm going to make I guess I'm not going to make one because they waited too long on the U-turn. So I'm going to make a U-turn here. I'm going to bet it takes a little over one lane to make a U-turn, so that's a pretty good turning radius. I like the sunroof, lets in just enough light. Again, no panoramic available because of the sloping roof lines. Can't make a straight line on that. That's fine. I like it. Again, base is at 46. They have 3 different models. They have the base, they have Luxe, and they have Sensory. I'm in the Sensory, that's top of the line. The base on that is 57, but most options are included. There's only 2,000 in options on this, which is pretty good in a car of this this price category. The sound on the speaker sound.
102 yards out, Morikawa is
listening to the PGA Tour radio network, because that's what I got to do. The visibility at night's excellent. The LED lights, very bright. I love the rear tail lights. I think it's a nice look. You know, overall, I'd give it a thumbs up. It just depends if you like this more than the QX50, which has a little bit more storage space just because of the boxier silhouette. But yeah, one lane, pretty good. Kudos, Infiniti. This is marking a new territory for the Infiniti line. At some point, they'll probably update their infotainment screen. It's been around for a while. It's probably about time, but it's still very useful. I'm not going to say throw it away because of that. I'm saying at some point they're going to upgrade those, but right now you still have 2 screens. Gives you extra real estate to use whatever you want, and whatever options or directions you're going to give it. It does have the automatic cruise control, so you can stay behind somebody, not have to worry. It will automatically adjust depending how close you are to the car ahead. As Pro Assist, where if I'm driving, I can actually take my hands off the wheel and it will make slight adjustments. You really want to keep your hands on the wheel. They don't want you to just lean back and start reading the paper. They still want you engaged. But as long as your 2 hands somehow are connected to the steering wheel, it will allow you to kind of drive autonomously. How about semi-autonomously? Right now, that's probably what you want to look at. I don't trust anything that does anything for me, especially mechanically. So if I give it a little punch, you can hear the engine. It kind of, it's not your typical gear shifting, but their whole mode on this, their whole goal is to make driving the most efficient way possible. And sooner or later, gas prices are going to go back up again, and you'll be happy that this car does that. It's front-wheel drive bias, but all-wheel drive when you need it. It pushes half the power to the rear axles, and again, you do have different variables as far as driving in inclement weather, and it does an admirable job with that. That's what I like. I just want it when I need it. If I don't need it, go with the most economical way possible. And here in Texas, outside of some rain and maybe a few patches of ice in the dead of winter, I think you'd be okay. So, soaks up the imperfections of the road nicely. It's a good cruising mobile, and don't you want that? I mean, don't you really want that? I do. So, kudos to Infiniti, brand new model. Again, it's the close sibling to the QX50, just a little bit sportier, and just depends on what your proclivity is there. Do you want sporty? Do you want more utility? The nice thing is Infiniti gives you the choice. So until next time, enjoy, and take a look at the QX55
Sensory Edition from Infiniti, especially Crest Cars Infiniti, up in Frisco, Texas.
And there you go, an overview of the brand new 2022 Infiniti QX55. This is the Sensory Edition, all-wheel drive. Now the base model starts at $46,000. This has a lot of options on it at $57,000. This one's tested at $59,000. Again, want to thank the great folks over at Crest Cars, specifically Crest Infiniti up in Frisco, for the use of the vehicle. Check it out if you get a chance. If you're into a sporty crossover, they call the coupe type model with the sloping roof line. This might be your pick to click, so check it out.